G'day listeners and welcome back to another episode of the Keeper League podcast. We're the AFL fantasy podcast that doesn't talk about the superstars. We need to talk about the lesser knowns and the players that are going to bring value to your draft and Keeper League teams. My name's Hef and I'm joined by my co-hosts Dossie and Kays. How you going, boys?
What's going on, Hef? How are you, mate?
Oh yeah, not too bad. Look, I don't want to start this on the on a classic note because we do talk about Keeper Leagues on here. But did you know that Kays, go on, tell everyone about your classic rank.
Oh, classic's an easy game. All you morons are like in the tens of thousands and 1,200. Like
1,200.
It's not even that hard.
That's stark contrast to your last few years where you've been like 40,000th after round one, but it's an easy game, as you say. So yeah,
It is.
We'll watch you maintain it over the year. But no, it was a big week. Look, let's not get stuck on the classic. Let's talk about round one of the AFL. So it was a big weekend. Lots of our favourites actually performed quite well over the weekend. And I don't want to spoil too much about what's coming up in the show, but there's one guy we've probably got to give a special mention to. Don't you think so,
yeah.
Dossie? Who's that? Who are we talking about?
Oh, well, I mean, we made a song about him this year, if that's what you're alluding to.
I definitely have.
He did all right. Are we going to just pop, 2G for P straight away? We want to talk about him for a few more weeks,
we don't want
though.
to get rid of him straight away because,
we have to get the clip saved on here so you can play the song, mate.
Yeah, I think so. That's probably a good idea. We could probably play it somewhere in the song. Maybe we could finish off the show on the song, maybe.
Yeah, maybe you can give us a live rendition. I'm more of a studio recorder myself, but you've got the live pipes to go, mate.
Maybe. We'll have to think about it. Maybe we could perform it somewhere at a live podcast. Who knows? But anyway, the video on TikTok had 21,000 views after the game on the weekend. So that's lots. Yeah, well, lots for us anyway. Like every other video, we've had one that's popped on there, but I reckon that was just TikTok algorithm just bumping it. But the rest were just like around 3,000 or 4,000 views, and this one just had like 21,000. So there you go. Yeah, I think people are getting on the song, and like so many comments of people just be like, "This is my new ringtone," and shit like that. So yeah, it was good fun to follow over the weekend. But yeah, if you're not around us on TikTok, at Keep League Pod on that, check that one out. But as per usual, each week we need to talk about our MANSCAPED, our beloved sponsors. Absolutely. But the thing is, Dossie, we don't have our new products yet, and Kays, we don't have our new products sent through. So we have to kind of keep talking about the old stuff that we've got. But one thing we haven't really talked about a lot on this podcast is about the kind of not the Lawnmower 4.0 and the Weed Whacker. It's the bonus little the toner and the what is the other stuff? The deodorant, the ball deodorant that comes with our pack. So
let's talk about that.
Yeah, what's your favourite out of those two, Dossie? Do you like the Crop Preserver, which is the anti-chafing ball deodorant and moisturiser, or the Crop Reviver, which is a spray-on toner for your balls? Now you always say your balls need toning, so I'm assuming that's your favourite, right?
Look, I'm more of a preserver myself. Okay. I'm interested in Kays on this topic.
No, I actually played golf yesterday. It was pretty warm, and the preserver was fantastic. Just a little anti-chafe.
Absolutely, no, it's definitely loosens things up down there. It doesn't gets rid of the rubbing and stuff like that. So it's
those thick thighs.
Yeah, exactly. The thunder thighs that I've got, that's for sure. They do it right. But I'm a big fan of the Reviver after a fresh trim, just to stop those ingrown hairs. And it's just like an aftershave for your balls. It's great.
Do you think with the preserver, I'm a lifelong skins wearer because of the chafe?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you reckon the preserver might...
You can probably get rid of the skins.
Could I go skinless?
Could we do a little scientific experiment?
Yeah, maybe that'd be a good TikTok video.
Round one might be a tough one to do it on because it might be a touch hot still, but
do a little chafer-meter, do some kind of science, just monitor the skin afterwards,
Jeez,
the redness of the skin.
I'd be seriously putting my faith in the product because there's some significant chafing.
I reckon it's got your back, mate. I reckon
it's got a notification that there's a fire in the general, Kenilworth area. It's on fire.
Absolutely. Hey, do you know there's also another product called the Plow, which is just a razor for your face? I only found this out today, looking through the talking points on the docs they send us. So yeah, I might get my hands on the Plow as well.
Of course I knew that as an ambassador of Manscaped.
Well, you were on Manscaped before they even sponsored us, so you had the Manscaped products.
Yeah.
But yeah, my beard is looking a bit thick at the moment, so I might have to dig the Plow into that one and see how we go. So anyways, join 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by going to manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping with the code KEEPER20. So make sure you support the sponsors. By supporting the sponsors, you support us. So get around Manscaped. All right, that's enough riffing at the top of the show about classic and Manscaped and shaving your balls. Let's get into the round rewind. All right, the first game of the week was Melbourne versus Western Bulldogs. So, Dossie, this was your game. Let's take it away.
Yeah, sure was. There was a bit of news around this one, that's for sure. In the post game, the presser, the infamous presser. But I just want to go to you, Kays, to start with, because the player in question that was talked about this whole being there was a lot of stuff afterwards that we don't need to get into. You would have heard about it. But the player in question, Lachie Hunter, I just want you to go through your emotions of the weekend.
Yeah. Obviously, beforehand, he had the bad game in the actual practice match, and I was like, no, this is not great. But the week before, he actually scored 100, and I was like, look, maybe it was just, trying a few things. I didn't see that game, like, I'll let it slide. Obviously, heard he was dropped, and I was like, oh, that's not great because he's a keeper, and, when he's on, he's a great player. And I was like, oh, look, this could be good. Goes back to the twos, gets some real hunger, determined to prove Bevo wrong. We'll come back a couple of weeks, and he'll be busting out hundreds for fun. So I was like, all right, I've come to terms with that. Anyway, then all this hullabaloo, out. Then I was like, it's all right, I'll leave him alone. And then he comes in. I was like, I actually left him out of my side because I was like, nah, not worth noise, it. Yeah. And it was probably a good call in the end. Like, it was just more like, I don't know what you can even compare it to. Like, he's been picked, even though Bevo didn't even really want them there. So it was like, just going off the bench and playing these crap positions, and so it was bad. It was bad as an owner.
Yeah, it's rough times, I guess, for Lachie Hunter owners. 58 points. And, I guess that's just touching on him for now. But I don't know. It's just a tough one going forward. You just hope he hits form because we know he's so good at his best. So hold the faith for a little bit longer.
You have to because no one's going to want him. Like, no one's going to take him in a trade.
I just hope it's not like I guess Johannesson like a few years back when he was like the talk of the town, then all of a sudden it was like fell off a cliff and everyone still held faith for ages. But I think Lachie Hunter's just going through a patch and he'll be right.
Agreed.
Talking of the Dogs in general, I just think as a team, they're still going to be a force. Like they're versing the reigning premiers. Obviously, it's a grudge match first week back, the grand final rematch. But I think you can still kind of stack your Dogs as a forward line, especially when they're up against weak oppo. So similar to what we talked a bit about on the waiver pod, but, as well as the Bulldogs, both of these, Bulldogs and Ds, I think you're going to be right to stream forwards against like the weaker opponents because they are going to slaughter some teams. They're both really good outfits. So just keep that in mind going forward. Libba's probably the biggest one I just want to talk about because the fact that he didn't play mid-time for me was just huge.
Crazy.
So obviously a huge attendee in the past. So
Can I jump in before we get too far? Apparently had COVID the week prior and it was a bit proppy.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to say though. It's cool. Like that makes a lot of sense to me because like I just don't see that being sustainable. So
apparently just wasn't 100% but still good enough to plonk up forward and see how he goes.
Okay, that makes total sense and that's good to hear. But I mean probably not that he's 2G for P, but just mentioning Bailey Smith, his stocks are high now, but he scores way better playing inside. So I don't think that's sustainable. Obviously 150 is not, but just to mention, Libba will get more mid-time going forward. That's great news. Hayden Crozier came in as the late replacement for Jason Johannesson, popped a big ton. Any interest on the Crozier front, lads?
We just did the Wave Wire podcast and we left him off. I didn't bother.
Yeah. He wasn't even best 26.
Yeah.
And then he got plucked from nowhere.
Yeah. Even though he'd scored well, I just don't trust him long term enough for him to actually be picked up by my team anyway.
That's very fair. And I'd probably go with that as well because, like you said, if he's not in the team already, the Bulldogs, you can score if you get, in the right spots. It's a high scoring team. Yeah. And if he's not doing what the team wants in the first place, it's probably not great signs. But hey, if he can stay in the team, there'd definitely be some interest. Aaron Norton is, we mentioned him a couple of weeks ago on our Western Bulldogs show. It was one of the most recent ones at the end of the season there. Yep. 88 points, looks to be an 80-plus forward, I reckon, this year because that's what he was tracking like being before his injuries last season. So, I'm pretty confident he can go at least high 70s, early 80s, and with a higher ceiling, he could pop some massive games. Like this is against a tough opponent. Yes, they were missing a couple of key defenders, but even still, 88 points, you'd love that as a forward. Especially one of the rare key forwards you'd be confident in, I think.
100%.
Ed Richards, bit of a role change. He's kind of played defence, I think, the last couple of years, but mostly in the VFL. So 57 points playing on the half-back flank.
Did play it in the Amy series.
Yeah, and played that. Yeah, but I do like that. I mean, because he's got defender status in the fantasy and stuff anyway, so he must be playing that at the lower levels regardless. But 57 points. Not a great score, but I do see potential there because he's got some class on that halfback line.
Always shown something.
He's definitely taken that running role off Bailey Williams, like the creator role.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for Bailey stocks, but he's definitely one of the next distributors. They've got Caleb Daniel, Bailey Dale, and now Ed Richards. So another mouth to feed down there. That's all I came up with for the doggies this pod. I'm sure there'll be plenty more in future pods, but going to the D's now. And yeah, again, I just would say stream your forwards when they've got weak oppo. They've got a bunch. I think they're going to be targeting Big Benny Brown though, like they did in this game. And I know you guys mentioned him on the waiver wire pod. But I think
sign up as a member to get access to that, by the way.
Yeah, that's right. But scored 77 points, did Big Benny Brown, and he was the big target up there for him, with Tom McDonald having to play a bit more defence in this game as well, because they've lost a lot of their key defensive stocks. I think Lever was missing for this one. Christian Salem went down, and anyway, Tom McDonald had to move back. So probably for me, it's stocks up for Ben Brown, stocks down for now for Tom McDonald, just because he couldn't score in that role in the later parts, and then that's why we got rid of him, kind of thing, and then he popped back up as a forward. Other players, the big one for me, and I don't know if he's available on some waivers, he's definitely going to be higher in the higher ownership percentage, but in your leagues where you've got the shallower leagues, probably in your AFL fantasy formats, not your ultimate footy, you tend to go a bit deeper, but Angus Brayshaw playing on a halfback flank is very tempting for me. 86 points. He's definitely playing in defence. And what do you guys think of Gussie as a keeper option now? He's like, if he gets defensive status,
looks like he's going to score better in defence than in wing, because his wing role was very defensive anyway. So it was like he would sit back and kind of play a defensive kind of wing anyway. Yeah. But I think this one just kind of opens him up a little bit more, lets him distribute the ball off the halfback line a little bit more.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. I don't know what you think, Case, because Gus Brayshaw's been a fantasy favourite of mine until he's got this stinking role. So back in a fantasy-friendly role, I'm all aboard.
He needs it. If Salem's gone for probably 1 or 2 months, so they need someone to fill that running.
And he was there beforehand. Let's not forget, he was training there this preseason too.
Yep. It was mentioned earlier. It was called by your mate Checkers. Our mate Checkers. Yeah.
Checkers, yeah.
Yep.
All right, let's talk about the other player talking about Salem going down injured. He's going to miss a bit of time. It's not too serious, but still had surgery, so he's going to miss some time. And Jake Bowie.
There we go.
How many points did he score on the weekend?
He only got the 38.
So he really took advantage of Salem's injury early.
He was taking some kick-ins, notably, and I think he did look comfortable, but wasn't scoring too much in this one. Keep an eye out though; could pop a cheeky couple of scores in the weeks to come.
I'm nervous about Bowie, Dossie.
Yeah,
just from the pre-season, and then I reckon he was given a pretty good opportunity to score on the weekend. Didn't really take it. So.
He didn't, but you're versing one of the best teams in the competition as well. So wait till he versus some of the weak oppo, and I think you'll get a good score.
You'd be surprised, but Melbourne are actually a pretty good team to score against. Like from the weekend as well, when you compare it to the rest of the
Bulldogs.
Oh, sorry, Bulldogs. But yeah. Oh, sorry, I've got the wrong way around.
Yeah, no, but that's a high-scoring game, but it's a lot of midfield back and forth. Like, there wasn't a heap of chip mark in the back line.
Yeah, it wasn't. Actually, no, sorry, I've got the wrong way around. Some Bulldogs are mid-table to score against. Melbourne are easy to score against. My bad.
Anyway, moving on, though, and last couple of players I want to talk about is probably the young guns for Melbourne. So, Luke Jackson, he scored okay with only 6 CBAs. I do think he'll get some games where he gets greater usage when they rest Gawn forward, but it's going to be probably few and far between, depending. I think we've noticed how good Gawn is this preseason.
They'll pick some games for Jackson to
they will.
Against the weaker opposition.
Yeah, absolutely. That'll happen. And you don't want to be owning Gawn that weekend, but you just have to kind of grit your teeth and bear it.
And I still look at Jack, like 72 with that low usage.
That's great for a forward spot.
Yeah.
Tom Sparrow was the one that had 6 CBAs from 65% time on ground. He's a future gun as well, but not right now. So you can probably just have him as your stash, but 52 points ain't going to cut it for now. He's probably just going to be another project player for another year. And finally, the one I have some dabbling interest in is James Jordan, who admittedly I was fairly off in the preseason. I didn't see the spot for him. I thought he could only play that inside role. They've popped him on a wing, and that's where that shift from Brayshaw into defence comes from. They want to get him some run, I think. And as a young player with plenty of potential, I think that's a great decision. So James Jordan, stocks are up for me. I'm keen on him as that. Still that bit of a stash player, but 73 points. I think he can go a lot better than that this year.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to Carlton versus Richmond. This is a game that I had a look at. Carlton, super impressive. They genuinely look like a finals candidate after this game, whereas like Richmond, we saw basically them continue on from what they did last year and also continue their kind of fantasy scoring trends from last year as well, which isn't super great to talk about, but we will get to them in a second. I'll talk about some players from Carlton first. So Matthew Kennedy, he had 122 points, and we're talking about like in the off season, we were talking about CBA bumps, and we thought like there'd be a main three, and then Kennedy would be the one that kind of complements to be the next in, the fourth midfielder in. He actually had the equal most CBAs on the weekend for Carlton. So there was 3 of them that had 22, I think. And then, so I've got it actually written here. Kennedy, Cripps, Pitney, Hewitt all had 22. And then Chera had 21 and De Koning came in and 7. So they didn't really rotate their midfield very much at all. So like in the preseason, we're seeing players like Zach Fisher and stuff rotate through there. Didn't give them any opportunities on the weekend. So yeah, it was pretty interesting to see that kind of stark contrast. And whether that will continue throughout the year where they don't really rotate many players through there, we'll have to wait and see. But especially when Walsh comes back as well. But we know Walsh has got the potential to play just on a wing as well, and that'd be a super luxury for Carlton if they could just play him out there. I don't know if they will, but it's going to be interesting because it looks like that midfield group is pretty tight-knit at the moment. So, yeah, but Kennedy looks like a star. If he has another game like that, I'm 2G'ing him next week. Adam Sard, 2G4P, by the way, for the listeners, is too good for the podcast. If you're new to the podcast, too good for the podcast. There's no point talking about them because no one wants to give them up. Everyone owns them. They're not on waiver wires, so yeah, we don't talk about them. Adam Sard's the next guy I want to talk about. He had 101 points. Good game with the halfback. Newman and Williams were just down in output. So I reckon just monitor to see what happens. I reckon he could be a goer if someone like Williams does get dropped maybe the next couple of weeks and he steps up, because I think Doherty was on the halfback, but he moved up to the wing a bit later on as well. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. Case, you look like you're dying.
You're not touching, but like Newman's role looked stinky.
Yeah, look,
like,
both of them
he's
did.
like almost lockdown defendery kind of role.
So Sard looked like the real beneficiary from that, really. So that was interesting. George Hewitt, I don't think there's any surprise here. He had 91 points. It was just all midfield. He's going to average over 80 as a defender. Is any question? Do you guys have any doubt that he'll average over 80?
Happy to 2G for him purely from a defender point of view.
That was my next question.
I just don't think he's going to be a huge 100 pluser. Like he's just going to be an 80, 90 like he has been when he was probably at his best at the Swans.
But 80 average defender for us generally is 2G4P. So we ready to call that one? We want to give him a week? One more? I'm happy to give him one more.
Nah, I mean, you're in the role right now. I just want to see what it's like with Walsh back.
Yeah, true. All right, maybe we just kind of give him another couple of weeks. We'll see what happens.
Just because given how good Kennedy's been, can they kick him out?
No, absolutely not.
Or would Hewitt be the one that kind of just...
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Yeah.
I don't know, lockdown forward or something.
Yeah. The last Carlton player I want to talk about is Mitch McGovern. Now, he had 54 points playing that interceptor role, but he got injured. I can't actually remember what he did. Was it an ankle? I can't remember.
He fell on his back or his hip.
Oh, that's what it was, yeah. But yeah, just wanted to see how bad the injury is. He took kick-ins as well. He took 4 of them, which was the most for Carlton. Just attacked the footy, took a few grabs. So, I don't know. Let's just see how bad that injury is, because he offers some value really deep in your leagues, because he was taken late in a lot of drafts. And I think he could be a handy...
He looks so good.
Yeah, I know. Could be a handy scorer.
Kind of like what we said the other week. What were they thinking not trying this earlier?
He must have been unfit for so many years that he just looks trim and
well, just like at Crows, he was a pretty decent forward. And with Curnow out and stuff like that, it was just like they wanted to probably just try him there. But now it's like with Curnow and everyone fully fit, they're just like, all right, we'll just stick you back and see how you go. And if your brother can do it, so
looks
can you.
Looks like a stud.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on to some Richmond players. Marlon Pickett was the top scorer for Richmond with 84 points. So he was playing on a wing, just hot with possession numbers early. I still wouldn't want to own him or any Richmond players really at the moment. There might be one that I'll talk about. Actually, I'll talk about him now. So Jack Ross was the other one, and I actually put him back in our in our draft. So he was my probably 17th best keeper in our 16 keeper league. But yeah, he just ran up and down the wing all day, and he was probably one of their better players on the night, but he still only scored 76 points, and I just don't think, unless he's getting those bulk CBAs like he was at the end of last season, and even with that was with no other midfielders in there, I just can't see any Richmond's players scoring well, and that was kind of the basis of me putting him back. So yeah, and I thought he'd be on the wing as well, and that's where he played, so he wasn't getting those CBAs. So yeah, he was just an interesting one. Shai Bolton are also interesting. So he looked super hot out there, just working hard between midfield and forward. Just the fantasy numbers aren't there. Kicked 3 goals as a mid forward, had 9 CBAs, and just still couldn't break the 80 mark. So,
influential from a real footy point of view, but just not from a fantasy point of view.
Yeah, and there were a lot of Tigers down. So Jack Graham only had 64% time on ground, so he looked underdone.
He would look like you were footy training last week. Jack Graham was struggling.
I was faster than him.
I'm just saying though, you're saying these guys don't have fantasy ceiling. 84 was the top score, but in a different game they'd be Shea Bolton and Jack Ross would be, if they're two of the top 3 scorers, then they're going probably 100 plus in a normal game or 95.
What was it
plus.
last year? Short was the top scorer and he was just about average?
Short and
100
I think
average?
Hooley were the only ones who went over 100.
Yeah.
I see potential from Bolton, to be honest. I think he's just so good.
It was a weird game. Like there wasn't a lot of easy ball, like chip mark kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But that was all weekend though as well.
Yeah, it was more that Bolton was just really flashy up forward as opposed to, I don't know. I don't mind Bolton, but I don't think he's a 100-pluser.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't think he's definitely not, but yeah. Kaz, your mic is just at your chin when you're talking, so maybe just lift it up a little bit. This other person is Daniel Rachele. So he was another one that was talked about a lot. So 56 points. Started hot, but then just stopped dead. But the halfback role is real, so that's something we can actually confirm. You're an owner in every league, Kaz. What do you reckon?
Basically every league. Obviously disappointed how the score ended up, but he actually was in a lot of the right spots. He just wasn't used. Like he was just there, and instead of going out to him, they'd go inside or just dump kick it. And so I'm actually not worried. He was running to a lot of the right spots and he was around the ball enough. It just wasn't falling into his lap.
And then they just took full possession and that's when he couldn't score. Like he was up and about when the Tigs had the ball, but then when they didn't, he just fell away completely. I'm an owner as well and watched very closely. The only issue I have is I remember being a big fan of Egg Malesi Smith back in the day.
Well, yeah, didn't notice.
And he was one of the guys that would get in all those same spots and didn't get used as well. And I just wonder whether it's more just the Tigers' game plan's always to, it seems like Short always just goes over their head because he's such a bit booming kid.
The other thing is that in Richmond defence or even Carlton defence, there wasn't a lot of stoppage time or chip back forward, set it up. It was just in, out. It was ping pong. So maybe in a bit of a different game, a different game. It would
if
be
somebody
okay.
drops him, I'm still chips in on Rachele this year. So
all right. I'll just get through the last two quickly. We don't really need much discussion. But Noah Bolter, he only scored 60 points, but he's one I'm still interested in because he just plays a variety of roles. I always find that when a player has to kind of slot into different roles a lot of the time, they don't score as well. But if you can lock down one, whether it be forward, backup, ruck, or in defence, he's still a player that interests me. I think he just needs to lock down a role and kind of play it, but I'm not sure if that'll happen. He's a Mr. Fix-It kind of thing for Richmond.
The thing is, I think the only reason he played defence was because they had those late outs, I'm pretty sure. And he had to play defence early, and then he switched to forward and was a beast again.
He was awesome up forward. And then he was awesome up forward in the preseason as well, so hopefully he can maintain that. That's the role you want him, and then pinching in the ruck. That's what you want.
He looks great in that role.
That's what you want. Liam Baker is another one I'm just talking about quickly. So he had 49 points and he had plenty of midfield time, but it just didn't equate to scoring, unfortunately. So, we'll see what happens with Baker. Don't write him off just yet, but it didn't look super promising on the weekend. All right, let's move on to St Kilda versus Collingwood, another Dossie game.
Well, we could start off with the first man. Lipinski, as predicted, boys. A big 117 for the man.
There was actually a little Lipinski reference on the traders. They referred to him as that. So, yes,
we'll have to have
sticking in some people's minds, that's for sure.
Have to have a listen there. 30 disposals, 5 marks, 4 tackles, 5 clearances, and a cheeky snaggaroony. He is Collingwood's new stat machine. Kays, were you a big fan there?
He's the saviour of your keeper team.
Mate, I wrote an article about him for DT Talk in December before you even knew who Patrick Lipinski was.
Mate, lyrics were written well and truly before then.
I can vouch for that. That was a long time
I want
ago.
to say, though, there was a little bit of panic at the bounce because he didn't start in the opening CBA. I don't know if you guys saw that.
No, I didn't
Starting up
see
forward,
the first half.
and then they get the first clearance and it was straight down his throat on the half-forward flank. But he actually was 4th in centre bounce attendances, so he wasn't one of the higher attendees. So in that inside-outside role, so 117, I'm holding the faith, but I don't want to be too. The Dossie curse still could live, so let's just be keep a lid on it, boys.
Because we're in this Lipinski bubble and we're all chips in, I was kind of like, did he actually play that well? I know he got lots of touches, but did he play well? Then I saw the coaches' votes come out and he got 9 coaches' votes. So I was like,
that's what you want.
The boys have found on.
A little funny story. This is going to be a long podcast and I apologise. But during that game, I was putting my son to bed and I got a message from you saying, Hef, send me the video file so I can edit it, so I can make a little good Twitter edit so I can put it out at halftime or whatever. And so I was like, yeah, all right, I'll send it to you. And then we had issues sending the files, whatever. Got it sorted. And then I was thinking, I just got my son to bed. It was about halfway through the second quarter. And I was like, all right, sit down and watch the footy. And then I just thought about it and I was like, nah, fuck, we need to do a repost on TikTok. So I went back to my computer, did a little edit as well, and so I only got to see the game from halftime.
You actually barely watched the explosion.
I put it out. How good is Lipinski without it actually watching him yet? But anyway.
I think he had 50 plus in the first quarter. Anyway, you'd be stoked if you picked him up in your draft, and
Is he 2G for P now?
Not yet.
He will be.
He will be.
He will be with the amount of mid-time. But we just want to talk about him for a bit longer, so we'll leave it.
That's the real reason. Sure.
Jeremy Howe, so would be 2G for P if he actually played last year, but he didn't, so didn't play a heap anyway. Looked really good, fantastic intercepting, and again, you know, could have been kept by a fair few coaches, but if you picked him up in a draft, I think you'd be very happy because if we remember, I think it was the weird COVID year maybe, but he was one of the league's best scorers until he went down injured, and he looked to be picking up where he left off. Scored pretty well in this one. I didn't write his score down for some reason, but I think it was high 80s. So
89, I reckon.
Carved up. Really keen on him. Josh Dacos didn't score well in this one, 69 fantasy points, but he'll be better than that in most weeks. Really keen on him still. So
yeah, he was one of those ones where you're like, oh, he's on like 80, 90, and you're just like, oh, okay. He still had the touches, just
so I don't know if anyone's not that keen on a 69. You want to throw not that keen on a 69, and you want to chuck a cheeky trade offer out there. Maybe go ahead and do that.
We can't talk about Nick Dacos obviously as well because he's 2G4P. So just thought we'd throw that out there. He was really good. Yeah,
boy, he was good. Do you guys see my tweet? I reckon that's facts too. By the way,
I missed that one. So
if you got him outside your first round in a startup keeper, you won the draft. In my opinion.
Okay, maybe.
You're drafting Sam Walsh at like pick 4, and he's basically just the next Sam Walsh. And you got him. I got him like 30s, 40s, 50s. Like
he's fine because he'll be a defender as well. But will he be a 100 averaging defender? That's the thing. Like this year, I mean.
Yeah,
he probably will be. Yeah,
he's tracking that way. Generational. We can't talk about him anymore.
Yeah.
John Noble, 88 points. Maynard out of the side, though. We've got to remember that. And, I think Jeremy Howe's more likely to continue his scoring than a John Noble. But it was promising signs, 88 points. I don't know if you guys have any interest in him. But
I like John Noble. He's just solid. He's just a genuine trooper.
A keeper league type that will never be 2G, but always on the podcast.
He could be if the role was there, but they've just got too many defenders. And
they push him
back there.
They do push him up to the wing from time to time as well. Well, they did last year. New coach now. It might not happen as much, but
Interesting, but I think he's sort of capped at that 75 to 80.
Yeah.
Jack Hayes for Saints.
So good.
Impressive debut.
Absolutely.
Huge numbers from the SAMFL, as you know, from checking out the keeperleaguepod.com.au's SAMFL numbers.
Exclusive to members. Sign up. Link in description below.
Of course, yes. But he came straight in and dominated. And BT wasn't the only one confusing him between him and Rowan Marshall because, he has a lot of traits that were very similar. It does look a bit like him too.
Marshall, Hayes, and even Battle, they all kind of look a little bit similar.
Confusing.
He was good. And waiver wire pod, no doubt you'd be touching on him because, amazing scenes, great debut.
Just are we worried about Ryder at all?
I'm not.
It's one game, one game sample.
I remember Luke Bailey. I remember not Luke Bailey. That's not even a player. Bailey Scott from North Melbourne turning up on debut. I know he's a bit younger, not mature age, but being the same thing. Like this kid is going to be a gun, and then just like going away. So there's just little things like that worry me. And then Ryder's playing this week apparently, and I know they love him. They think Ryder is like their most. He's
the best tap ruckman probably in the league.
They were saying he's the most important player in their side earlier this year. That's the only thing. And a slightest little thing that worries me. That's all.
Long term,
long term.
Why wouldn't you? Yeah, Jack Hayes for sure.
That's true.
Yeah, gun. You got 2. Yeah, I wonder. Anyway, I don't know. I don't know what to think. Let's see more sample size, but you got to pick him up just to see what happens. The big one for me, Jade Gresham is the I know we had that debut, but the one that I'm most excited about here is Jade Gresham. He is a absolute gun, Jade Gresham, and I think he's underrated in the league. And I forgot myself, I've underappreciated him in my ranks because I didn't see him coming out from this injury. One of the hardest ones to come back from in sports, in professional sports.
He's picked up where he left off last year before.
We didn't see it in the preseason though either. No. So we were obviously all thinking he's obviously not 100%. They'll ease him back into it, and then it was just bang.
So basically looking at the CBA splits from the first half to the second half, and I tweeted this out. I have to go pick it up because I didn't write it.
He went bigger in the second half though, didn't he?
Oh, did he go bigger in the second half, Hef?
Yeah. Well, because I only saw the second half, but it was quiet the first half, wasn't it? And then bang.
It was exactly that. And I'll just pad for a little longer while I bring up the stats.
Cool. I can probably get the CBAs. I got them up on my website.
So here it is. So the first half versus second half splits for Jade Gresham. First half, 3 CBAs. 6 disposals, 2 tackles, 22 AFL fantasy points. Second half, 13 CBAs, 18 disposals, 6 marks, 2 goals, and 77 AFL fantasy points in the second half.
Yeah, big.
So basically, the Saints needed that injection in the guts. They put him in, and at the expense of a Seb Ross. So if you're a Seb Ross owner, I'd be fairly nervous here. Put him in there, in expense there, and they started to make their little comeback as well on the back of it. And boy, Jade Gresham, I've said it multiple times, Dane Zorko light. This guy's a superstar of the competition.
The guy you want to talk about next also is part of that resurgence. I'd love to see his first half, his second half splits too.
Who's that, Darcy?
So Jack Sinclair, he scored 108 and had a pretty similar, sort of split. You'd have to maybe check that out for me, the second half versus first half. But actually, maybe I'll write him down. So 8 CBAs in the final quarter for Jack Sinclair. So he was also one that barely attended and then was chucked in there for the last quarter. And guess what he got in the last quarter there? 10 disposals, 3 tackles, 41 of his points came in that last quarter. So I did see rat and toy with this at times last year. So I'm not... Compared to Gresham, I think he's got just such a steady role. Jack Sinclair, just one to watch, but that's great numbers, isn't it? Max King, though, he's a guy you could probably get on your waiver wire right now, and he's probably one that I'm considering to be not quite the Norton level of key forward that you can reliably field every week, but I think he's going to put up some nice scores like this during the season. 77 points. He's looking like he's taken a step up, and I think he could be a reliable scorer for us this year.
I think he averaged 150 as a junior fantasy scorer from one game because he kicked 10 goals and they got injured. But anyway.
Yeah, so anyway, but he's kind of like getting that to that level where he actually was taking some big contested clunks, and if you just can't stop him like they couldn't in this game, he's going to have some big scores, especially if the Saints are more competitive. So, I'd be dabbling in some loophole action with King, especially.
I think he's going to be a gun too. Both the Kings are going to be guns.
Yeah. I'm surprised that I think he's probably coming into fantasy calculations a bit earlier.
Yeah, well, because he missed a lot of his first season as well, come back from injury. So
exactly. But I want to talk about your boy now, Kays.
Yes.
So you want me to you want to take it away? Ben Patton, 77 points, looked all right.
Yeah, I think this is just what Ben Patton does. Like, did anyone notice Ben Patton on the weekend?
Nope.
No, but he just accumulates. And Saints do have the nice little chip around, when they get some chains going with, Hill, Patton, Sinclair and stuff like that. He's just a good cog, and he's a guy that plays a good role, like defensive role, but can also kind of a bit Blake Hardwicky.
I was going to say a bit Mason Redmond-y as well. That sort of just fills the gap, but pops up for a couple of disposals.
When I'm watching him play, I'm always quite often I just forget who he is. Like I'll have him down one week, and I'm like, who's that guy again? And then it's now I just know him as the guy that Kays loves. That just reminds me of who he is.
He's just so good. He's just consistent.
Oh, that's that guy Kays loves, Ben Patton.
I'll touch on a few scores, couple of scores quickly. Ryan Burns.
What was he doing out there?
That was got to be love the lad and still backing him in fully. That was just one of the worst games I've seen. And look, chin up, he'll be better in the future. I still see him. I still have a lot of faith in Burnsy, but that was a disgraceful game, and I'm sure he may be on the chopping block because it was clanger after clanger. Didn't get his hands on the pill. It was a rough outing for the young fella, but he'll be right. He'll bounce back in the future, but could get dropped this week. Josh Battle, pretty poor score as well with 51, especially against Collingwood. You'd usually expect people to score well. He just
like who's playing lockdown.
Yeah, I still have faith as well in him bouncing back. I reckon this is 51. He's more like a 70-plus guy for me. So still hold faith in Josh Battle, but 2 gross scores from 2 of my favourites. So a bit hard.
All right, let's move on. Kays, your beloved Bombers put up an absolute stinker of a performance. Let's talk.
I don't think we played bad. I just think that the Cats are probably premiership favourites.
Okay.
We just came up against a really good side. Look, we were pretty average. But one guy who wasn't, Nick Martin, holy badooly, 130 points on debut, 27 touches, 5 snags, came from only 77% time on ground too, so not too bad at all. And the Rising Star nomination this week. So, we thought he might have had a bit of a fantasy game, but I don't think we expected the 130 debut.
I missed this game, one of the rare missed games for me this weekend. But can you just describe what sort of player he is? Because I literally haven't seen him play yet.
Wiry flanker.
Yeah,
really?
but a wing, I don't know. He's really smart. Like he was just running to the best spots. Like the goals that he kicked, it was just like he just found space in the forward 50 and just and he just looks very polished. Just he's got good hunger, he's got good polish, and he's got that goal sense too. Like I don't even know who you compare him to. I don't know, but he looks really good.
When you say hunger, would you say thirst?
No, he's hungry.
Okay, that's what I was going to say. Off-brand.
Yeah, he's hungry. Look, that's your word, but look, I think people were a bit worried about his job security, but obviously, Cole Langford was out. That I think locks himself into that spot anyway. I know Stringer and Snelling have to come back in, but I think guys like Braden Ham or Matt Guelphy
was he a big junior? Like state league.
I didn't actually look them up because he was so late to getting into the list. I haven't actually published them at all. Yeah, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, but yeah, he was really good. Forward status and on
mature age, isn't he? Claremont?
Just a bit. He's not super
20 years old.
Yeah. So he was. I think he won a premiership last year or something. Like that. So look, he looks great. He looks really great. Just excited to see him for the rest of the season. Tommy Cutler had 102. He was the sub and activator early with Cole Langford out, and he was probably one of the Bombers' best players. Look, he just works super hard, and we know he can score well when the role's there. He had some big numbers when he was at Brisbane. Been kind of in and out the side the last couple of years at the Dons. 24 touches and a snag off kind of like half-back flank in the wing. He's teetering on the edge of the best 22. So I mentioned on the waiver wire pod, I reckon he's a great streamer if he's playing, because if he's got the role, he can score well. Basically kind of killed Heppel's scoring too, I think, which I'm a bit worried about. I'll touch on that in a sec. Mason Redman, 85. Just a genuine prime mover from defence in this game. Had 20 touches, 8 marks, and the big one for me, he took 5 kick-ins. So he's building those numbers up. Rids took 5 himself. So I think they're giving a lot more responsibility to Redman. And we've been talking about him for a while. We're all kind of big fans, but he's just a guy who goes under the radar. Just picks up touches, marks. He's that good size. And just as a guy that never lets you down. Like he's always seems to be good for that 70, 80.
Is he a sneaky late season chance to be 2G for P?
You have to average 80. Has to average 80.
Yeah, but do you reckon with the kick-ins now, a bit mature, like...
but the thing is, I've been expecting it for years now, like probably 2 years.
I don't think he's got
average 80 this year.
He doesn't have a massive ceiling, but he's building a really nice floor for your D4, D5, which I love. Heffy, your boy Archie Perkins, he had 70 points. He started on fire, had 15 touches and 54 points at halftime, and then just dropped off. But look, nothing too worrying for me. Second year player, first game of the season. Like when he was up and about, he looked really good. And
the thing is, he moved in the midfield more in the second half, didn't he? And didn't score as well in the midfield because he was getting a lot of +6s up forward. Yeah, and then just wasn't kind of scoring as well in the guts.
He looks like a really good weapon as a half-forward flanker at the moment. Like he probably doesn't have that pure midfield game which the Bombers need, but I think he's going to be a good scorer as like a good half-forward flanker. So. Yeah,
because he pushes up to the contest, or he can kind of be like kind of a connector as well. Like he'll take the mark on the half-forward or on the wing and kind of be that next delivery in. So.
Yeah, look, as a forward status player this year, I think he's going to be a great little get for people who do have him. 2 metre Peter had 59 points. He had a bit of a mare. I reckon he got touched up by Sam De Koning at times. He just looked off sorts.
I think De Koning got injured real early, didn't he?
No, he got injured early on. So he was getting beaten by De Koning early.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
And only had 2 goals and 8 touches. The good thing, I think, if you're an owner, he couldn't have too much of a worse game than he did. He still got 59. So I think that's kind of a positive because I think he's going to have some big games where he'll kick 5 and 6 goals, especially when guys like Stringer come back in and help take some heat off. Dyson Heppel is obviously 2G for P, but I'm bringing him back because I'm very concerned.
Wow.
55 points from Hep, 15 touches, only the 1 kick in. We've seen that, Andy McGrath and Zach Merritt are rolling back through that back line at times. Redmond was really good. Hind had a great game. Tommy Cutler was really good.
Tommy Cutler nearly doubled old Hep.
Yeah. So, what's going on there?
They've been pushing up to the wing, haven't they?
Oh, yeah. But yes, but you've still got Cox and you've had, it was more Cutler, but on the weekend. I'm worried, but I'll be monitoring this situation very heavily because I'm not sure what's his role back there because all those other guys played really well and scored. Is it the McGrath Merritt, taking that free running free,
I didn't watch all of this game, admittedly, but pre-season it looked like he was on the wing and he just wasn't in.
So what you're saying? It could be a Gussie Brayshaw or the old Gussie Brayshaw before
perhaps,
he got the.
Just he's not in a role that he's kind of used to playing. He's not in a cushy fantasy role. He's just kind of floating in between.
One game sample.
Well, we'll just monitor because a lot of defenders
the Oracle's seen something.
A lot of defenders had bad games on the weekend, so you shouldn't read maybe too much into it. Heffy messaged the group and said, "Is Jai Caldwell 2G4P?"
Oh no, sorry, you didn't have him in your doc. That's all I meant. Like, so I was like, he's obviously 2G, 4P. We're not talking about him.
No.
That's all I meant.
I'm not convinced just yet, because if you look at the splits, I'll compare Dilshew had 72 points in the first half and only 11 in the second half, and not as big a differential, but Caldwell had quite a first half with 44, then had some more time in that CBA as midfield. I don't think he's 2G, 4P. I was just kind of, you didn't have him on there when I looked at it, and I was a bit worried. I was just flittering, and I think that those two guys are probably going to steal points off each other, because I think that Truck almost has them yin and yang in a way.
And I guess Shield in that first half was really doing a lot of damage in there, so they probably don't want to have Caldwell instead, do they?
Well, actually, she was not too bad
because they were getting spanked.
Yeah, she was not too. She didn't play too bad. I don't know. We had a bad game, so we'll just pump the brakes on the Dons for a week. But a guy who had a huge game was Big Tomahawk.
Nothing is worse when your opponent has someone like this and he's just fucking kicked 5 in the first half.
He had beast mode activated. 4 goals, 17 touches. Look, it's what he can do. Essendon don't have the strongest set of key defenders, so if you're talking about guys who you didn't want to stream when they're playing a weak side, Tommy Hawkins looks hungry. Tyson Stengle had 100 points, and it was a very nice return from him to the AFL. 7 times he hit the scoreboard, for 3 or 4 goals, 3.
7 times.
20 touches as well. Look, he's always had plenty of talent, but he looked really fit, stripped down. Last year, I looked back at his SANFL numbers. He averaged 71 from 19 games, which is not too bad for a small forward. Also picked up 5 tons and only had the 5 games under 60. So if he can bring that kind of scoring prowess to the AFL, that would be very handy as maybe an NF5 in some sides. We won't see 100 each week, of course not, but he's one that you could probably bring in, especially if the Cats are going to feast on a weaker outfit. A guy who seriously impressed me, though, was Brandon Parfitt. He had 93 points, and he was everywhere. It was actually one of the best games I've ever seen him play. 32 touches and 11 clearances. They really gave him the keys to the midfield. And if they give him that license for the rest of the season, it's going to be very, very good for his fantasy scoring. But Mitch Duncan's probably the only one who's to come back into that side. So he could finally have arrived as a player. It feels like he's just been almost there. But he looked very polished on the weekend.
85% of the CBAs for Geelong. And he's listed as a forward in Ultimate Footy, isn't he?
So handy.
That's 2G, 4P territory.
So handy.
82% TOG is big for him.
Yeah,
he's always been low.
Yeah.
I was checking that. I'm like, surely he was low TOG still.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
It's good. It's very good. A couple other ones. Brad Close didn't wear the sleeves on the weekend, which was odd. He 2 goals, 2, got up the ground nicely. Forward status, so just keep monitoring him. A bit of a warning, Shawnee Higgins, he had 71 points, but I thought he was pretty crap. He did some really bad things. And looking at that side, they've got Mitch Duncan to come in, potentially like someone like Brian Myers. I think Shawn Higgins potentially finds his way out of that side first before someone like Brad Close or the next guy, our boy, the keeper of the league's own Max Holmes. 70 points. He got himself into some very good spots. Played mainly on the wing, but also got 8 CBAs, which is very, very promising considering how strong the Geelong midfield was. I think he's going to be very, very good. 2 goals, 16 touches, 3 clearances. Will he have too many more bigger games? I'm not too sure this season, but he's someone you want to invest in this year, because if you don't get him now, it's going to be his breakout year next year.
Grab him now, though.
Or later this season if things fall his way, but yeah.
A couple others to touch on quickly. Zach Guthrie, 69 points. The half-back flank role is real. His disposal let himself down at times, but it was a bit of a messy game. In a round where there were lots of poor scores from defenders, I reckon there's definitely scope for improvement there. He looks big. He looks ready. Even David King commented on how big he looked, I think it was. So that's great. And
Girthy.
Jeremy Cameron got injured. I'm not really sure what happened, like some internal stuff, but he was 33 points from only 17% time on ground. He looked back to his best, kind of what we saw when he was at GWS. He looked really good. So
he might play this week, they were saying.
If he could go big again. He was on track for a big score.
Was David King saying that he was Zach Guthrie?
Next game, GWS versus Sydney. Tom Green, 133 points. He's 2G4P.
Calling it already? Nah, I've got to give him one more.
No, surely. You don't have to give him one more. He is elite.
What if he gets like 60 this week?
He's still too good for the pod. No one is selling Tom Green stock at all.
All right.
2G him.
Okay.
Matty Flynn had 88 points. Showed some glimpses of kind of what he did last year when Bruce was injured. He had 17 touches and 30 hit-outs, which is a pretty solid day for Flinney. He's not the most mobile guy, but he does try his best. interesting is what happens when Proust comes back. Do you reckon they play 2 rucks, or because they've got Himmelberg and Riccardi, they don't?
I don't know. I think they do. I think because I don't think you can drop Flynn. Although Flynn had a bit of a shocking start. He got a bit better. He got better as the game on.
Serviceable, yeah.
I don't know. I just don't know if you can drop him. Like so, and I think they want to play Proust. So I reckon they do just roll with the 2.
I'm worried if they do play 2 because I don't think they can kind of carry 2, but I could very well be wrong.
Do they drop like a Riccardi or something like that?
Riccardi was pretty good.
Okay.
And Himmelberg was good. Like, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. I don't know who they bring out the side for that. Just a couple others. Yeah, they were all the big guys scored for the GWS, but Connor Iden, he had 57 points, and there's just something about him that catches my eye. Kind of a bit of an eye test passer, if you will. He had 10 touches and they were all kicks, which is good. He's got good size, good speed. So just one to monitor. The big one for me, and as an owner, I'm seriously concerned, was Lockie Ash had 37 points. The huge concern was that I hardly saw him on the screen. Secondly, it's like he didn't have a role. You know, we've seen him tag towards the end of last year and you go, look, I can cop the score because he's tagging. He wasn't doing that, and he wasn't loose across halfback.
He was at every wing attendance because he was on Dylan Stevens for a lot of the game. Because I was watching him super closely.
But he was nowhere near the ball. Absolutely nowhere near the ball. 8 touches. So Leon might be ruining his career right in front of our eyes. Could that be the nature
of the game? Because I saw like Dylan Stevens, we were probably pretty big on this preseason, at least. Yeah. And he had a quiet one too.
First half though, he was good. But no, what I noticed, this is something I want to ask Kays about this game. First half, I noticed Dylan Stevens was basically on the wing at every bounce. Second half, Mills moved out there and Stevens was nowhere to be seen. No. So what happened there?
There's honestly too many mouths to feed at Sydney, which is my next point. Yeah. Like, I reckon apart from Heaney, Parker, and probably Mills, all these guys are going to fluctuate week to week because they just can't, keep. Everyone can't score. Everyone can't score well at the same time. Like, I'm going to talk about Rowbottom, Florent, Goulden, even Blakey, Josh Kennedy, Warner. We're not even going to touch on Stevens or Campbell or Lloyd. Like, there's so many fantasy-friendly guys who they can't all put up good scores each week.
Or it could, I don't know, end of last year when they were flying, we saw them all do that. Like, it could be
not like Rowbottom going big, Florent going big, all those kind of guys as well.
I reckon there was a couple of games last year where they just dominated possession, and it was almost like the dogs out.
Do you know
there.
the one guy you saw go down was JPK on that half back line?
Talk about him right at the end because it might be curtains.
I just wanted quickly for G-Dubs. Callan Ward, I thought was going to play half back, and he was in the guts again. And I'm like, Leon. So if you drafted him, for positional status,
didn't affect Tom Green.
He's bevoed everyone.
No, but that's right. Yeah, I just think they affected your boy, Tan Bruin, stuck in the sub-vest, man.
I know. Yeah. Bad. Anyway, Jimmy Rowbottom, 99 points. It's been a long time coming, but I reckon he's finally made it. It could be Rowbottom season. He was the workhorse in the centre square. 18 touches, 10 tackles, 23 CBAs, which is absolutely huge for him. Really brought that physical presence in the centre bounces. Will he be a 100-plus player? No. I think he's going to be that 90-ish, a Ben Cunnington style kind of scorer. He was instrumental for the Swans on the weekend, and basically, well, I'll talk about him now. Josh Kennedy didn't have a centre bounce all day.
Yeah. They tried him on half back, didn't they?
Yeah.
It didn't work.
And it's just not working. Yes, he's got good disposal and stuff like that, but he's just not that half back flanker. Only had 12 touches, had 2 kick-ins. Like they've got Rowbottom, Florent, add in Chad Warner next week. Are they going to try and carry him, or are we going to get like a Nate Jones fade into
you reckon like
obscurity,
some knee full / VFL now?
Are they going to try and carry him? I hope they might. Send him off on a flag. I don't know.
I think what's probably going to they're just going to put him back in the midfield and someone else is going to suffer because they can probably put someone like Rowbottom or Florent back on a wing type thing.
Florent was amazing. He had 96 points, and we've given him a lot of stick on this podcast over the years.
He's playing a different role though.
But this is the best game he's ever played. 17 CBAs, 20 touches, 3 goals. He could be one who works with Heaney or Warner and swapping forward. A couple of his goals are really good, and I don't know. I think the CBA numbers have to suggest that he's going to be in there for the most of the year. He was explosive. He was great.
He's a tease. He's always a tease. I feel like he's more class. Yeah. I feel like he's that classy player and like you said, 100%. He looks great.
Just remember last year when McInerney had like bulk CBAs, and the next week Tom Papley had big CBAs.
This is why Sydney is honestly it's a nightmare.
So weird.
Like Errol Goulden, you could almost 2G for P him because he didn't have that much of an influence. But he still had 85 points.
Talking about 2G 4P, let's hear about Nick Blakey.
85 81 points. The Lizard was very good. I will say that. 22 touches, 6 kick-ins, which is the big one.
Boom.
The big question is, Heffy, there was no Lloyd there. So what happens next week? He's definitely best 22 because he provided such a good run and drive. Braden Campbell will be going out that side quite easily, and I think Gus Sheldrick will be the other one.
Yeah, Sheldrick.
I didn't know because I saw this and I saw bits and pieces of this game. I didn't know it was 6 kick-ins. That's probably worrying. Like for a he's just scraped the 80 and he's had.
But we did see Sydney we did see him share the kickings around, and plus it's Blakey though. Like I still think that's good for him. Like 70 is good for him. I'll take that from Blakey.
Yeah. So, and long term as well. Looked very good.
We'll know more about his scoring next week with Lloyd back in. He's not going to get dropped though. He's not at that. He's really a good player.
He's too
now.
useful for him.
Yeah. Hef.
Yeah. So, no, sorry. It's on to me, is it?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry. I didn't realise you're finished. Well, you had JPK at the bottom, but
we already talked about
him. Yeah. Anyway, look, let's get the jokes out of the way about all the Port players I'm going to talk about. You got any you want to get off your chest now? No? Cool. We'll move on.
Then let's scroll down. Scrolling down.
Oh, there we go. Stop it. Anyway, Zach Bailey's the first player I'm going to talk about for Brisbane. 98 points. So he had a nice split between midfield and forward. 11 CBAs, kicked a goal. Should have had another goal as well. He'll be 2G, 4P very, very soon. Give him one more week just for good measure, but yeah, there's no real point. He's going to be 2G. Marcus Adams just popped up, 93 points, just a one-off score, I think. Just no Dixon, and Port's forward entries were very bomb on head. So he just let him just chop a few off.
Me. Yeah, like I've saw bits and pieces of a lot of games this week. When I looked at, he was
everywhere.
Yeah,
no, but he was like, I saw him do some real bad things.
I was just taking grabs and then kicking away. Yeah, it was a slippery game as well. So but yeah, it definitely wasn't on the back of like his exquisite disposal or anything like that. It was just taking plucks back there. Joe Danaher, he was the star of the show. He kicked 4 goals and basically won him the game off his own boot. Aaliyah was super injured, like really proper. He's actually now out for syndesmosis, so probably out for months. But yeah, kicked 4 goals and only had 85 points. So that's the kind of concern there. But you'd take that from Joe Danaher every day of the week, that's for sure. Jared Berry had 83 points, just on a wing mainly, only had the 4 CBAs. Then had a knock, I think, to the shoulder in the third quarter. Returned, so he probably should have scored more than the 83. So I think
he started real hot too, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. So he's done that all preseason as well.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think the knock in quarter 3 slowed him in third quarter, slowed him down. Okay. So yeah, I'll see how it goes from there. I'll just talk quickly about the Darcy Fort, Oscar McInerney ruck combo. So 72 and 81 points respectively. McInerney was the number 1 ruck, and then Darcy Fort was more forward, but they were both good in either role. So Fort still had 21 hit-outs, so he's actually performed pretty well in the ruck. And I just think the combo might work nicely together because neither of them are superstars. So I think they've just got to play both of them, and I think they do will work in the same team because we saw him play Fullerton like all last year as well, and I think they do want to play that second ruck. So I think Fort's going to be a better version of that, so he's going to be okay. Just a handy one to handcuff to have, I think, in your side, those two. Don't expect huge things, but they'll score okay.
Yep, and if one misses, then the other could go big. Pop. Yeah. Especially if Fort's been pretty solid numbers in the seconds.
Yeah. And just want to touch on Cam Rayner. So he only scored 51, but also only had 68% time on ground. So he was good early, and I think he just tired a bit as the game went on. So I expect him to lift those a little bit, not huge, but
I thought he looked really good actually.
Yeah, same. So
the shaved head, he looks real like
I
don't know. I'm still so on the fence whether he's going to be a fantasy gun eventually.
I don't think he's going to be a gun. I think he's just going to be handy forward.
He just really actually impressed me with how he kind of got into space and stuff. So I thought he was pretty good.
Give him time. That's all I'm saying. Move on to some Port players now. So Darcy Byrne-Jones, he had 100 points and he's turned up all pre-season, I think, as well. So just continued on in this game. So I think he's back to his best from when he was nominated for All of Australian a few years ago. So just monitor that one. But I think he's kind of back to scoring pretty well. Zach Butters, do we 2G, 4P? Yeah, cool. Don't even talk about it. Just basically a full-time midfielder now, scoring well. Riley Bonner, 73 points. So he was used a lot off half-back. He had 7 kick-ins, which was the most for Port. And he probably will absorb Mackenzie's few kick-ins as well.
Did you see Big Cannon might be right for round 2?
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's hyper extension, outside chance for round 2.
Here I am, just like he is going to miss the rest of the season with an ACL.
Yeah, I thought I'd let you know. So
maybe not.
Great news for the Cannon.
Good news for the Cannon. Not good for Bonner's extra kick-ins he might be getting. But,
come on, mate.
Yeah, no, I'm obviously I want
You're
him
sick.
back. Well, no, I need him
it's
back.
your team, too.
I'm a Port supporter. I want him back in. I'm just saying, it's just not good for his kick-ins. Yeah, so he was the one that was on the verge of my keepers and last-minute choice to really keep him after a good Amy Series performance. And yeah, I'm happy I did now because I think he's going to be used a lot this year. So I think he's going to be a good performer. And the other one's Sam Pepper. So he only had the 4 CBAs, but he was just good around the ground. Kicked 1 goal, kicked it behind as well. Probably should have had a couple. Really gross kick to handball ratio though. 7 kicks, 11 handballs.
Peps,
yeah,
though.
but I think if Robbie Gray's a bit proper, he's going to just walk into kind of his role up forward. I think. And
I thought
yeah.
I was actually quite impressed with Pepper.
Yeah, no, he was
Yeah,
fine.
yeah.
So no, I was happy with the score as well. That I think it was I didn't have it written down, but I think it was high 70s.
71 or something like that, yeah.
Cool. And just Lockie Jones didn't score super well either, but when he puts everything together, all parts of his
Yeah.
game, like he can take a contested mark, he's actually super quick. And he's
It's-
90 kilos.
He's so
like,
fast.
He's got like a keg on
Yeah.
legs. And
Yeah.
So he's going to be like just a monster tackler as well.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
when he puts everything together in like 2 or 3 years time, I reckon he's just going to be a really. I don't know if I think the fantasy scores will definitely improve, but like he should be a running back in the NFL or something. He's just a monster.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I think the fantasy scores will come.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Just
hope
at
so.
the moment, like
Yeah.
you said, there's a lot of mouths to feed.
Yeah,
but
he's just
as
going to
a-
put everything together.
As a second year player,
plays the
in
rest
that
of this
back
season,
line,
doesn't
Yeah. He looks so comfortable out there.
Yeah.
It looked like he's been playing for 5-6 years already. But yeah, that's all the Port players I'm going to talk about tonight. So I'm going to keep it short,
Oh,
sharp, and
wow.
shiny. Record, yes, guys.
That is a record.
No Jackson Mead. No.
No, didn't score well enough. Yeah, all right, let's go. Move on.
Port guys you can imagine.
That's all I got in my head right now.
Hawks v North Melbourne. Now, I think we should probably all take these scores with a grain of salt because I don't think either of these teams are going to be much chopped for
Two worse sides.
for the rest of the season. So, a bit of a score fest. LDU, is he still floating around our podcast?
Oh,
Because he's
we
2
gotta-
G4P.
we gotta
He's
give him
turned
another
into
week.
a...
He only averaged 81
Yeah,
last
we
year.
got to give him more time.
His Amy score
he
was
was,
huge, and
yeah.
on the weekend he was just like from the
I'm
start.
happy to do it, but I think we just need a bigger sample.
I'm happy to
size.
go one more, but I think he's taken the
If,
step.
yeah, if he goes again, I'm happy to do it.
Didn't
too.
we all say like he's only going to average 90 this year?
Oh, I'm changed.
Yeah, I'm happy to change.
I've
I didn't see the
changed.
game, but yeah.
He was outstanding. Obviously, like I think he was on track for 200 for most of the game.
Yeah.
Just cooled down a bit, but yeah. I remember a mate of mine took him pretty early in our Keeper League startup, and I was like, gee, that's like, I have some LDU stocks, that's for sure, but took him pretty early, and we were just like, geez, did he just win the draft? Like, getting him, looked
He's a
amazing.
new player. Anyway, monitor him because he's looking fantastic. Lukey McDonald, 109 points from him. Now, he was outstanding, and I don't just mean from a fantasy point of view. 6 intercept marks, shut down Gunston at times when he was on fire. Just read the ball beautifully across half back. Yes, Hall's got that slutty roll back there, but McDonald is legit, and he's actually more important to the Roos going forward. Had 3 kick-ins too. I think you'll get that back status incoming because there was a bit of a worry that Hall, Zeeble, and McDonald all won't play back there, but yes, they are. It might even spell the end for Zeeble as a defender because he's not got that fantasy friendly role, and he's not a great defender either. So
I was on a miniature railway train, steam train down at Semaphore with my son, listening to this game on the radio with my headphones in. But I heard Zeeble was playing at full back at some stage. Is that true?
yeah, he was
Yeah.
getting touched up by like Jack Gunston was out marking him, and it was not good. So
Yeah.
Yeah, like you said, it's kind of like where do you kind of
Where-
play
where do
him?
you hide
But
him?
he's just a big body to kind of crunch into packs and
Yeah.
stuff. And yeah, I think that's where they're still going to play him. But yeah, Luke McDonald has some freedom to intercept and be that third kind of flying defender. He looked awesome because I saw quite a bit of the same. Yeah.
Played fantastic. Tom Power had 86, and kind of crazy to think he wasn't best 22 before Polek pulled out. Went about his business quite nicely. Really unassuming kind of player at times. Yes, his disposal needs some improvement as well, but he wins a lot of contested footy, and he's going to only improve. So centre forward status with him.
What was his role in this
Genuine
game?
gift.
He didn't go on the wing for
like
for
wingy.
Yeah, it was a wing.
Yeah,
Oh,
it was
that's
wingy.
no CBAs.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
kind of left him out on
Yeah.
the outside.
Okay,
And
that's interesting.
He worked well. Like he just seemed to find it without doing anything too crazy.
Yeah.
So just nicely accumulated.
Yeah, nice.
I'm liking the look of him. I think he'll need another proper year in the system to develop. We know he's had some big scores, but they're building a good nucleus of young mids in there.
He's going to be a gun scorer when he gets his chance. Yeah, but outside the best 22, like you said, pretty surprising. And Polek sounds right to go by next week, I reckon. Too,
I don't think he goes out though. I think there'll be someone else who will miss. I don't know who, but one guy who will not be missing for quite some time is Jason Horne-Francis. Had 61 points. Now, I've definitely called off a bit on his output this season from a fantasy point of view, I think. And I was definitely Team Jason in, Team Jason v Team Nick. But obviously Dacos is well and truly made me look silly there. But look, I've no doubt that Horn Francis will be an absolute star, fantasy and real footy wise. But the way that he plays, he'll need a bit more time in the system to find his way. He's a real ferocious competitor. Like, he's really up in everyone's grill and just loves the contested footy. Like, just wants to take hangers and, he just wants to have that contact. He actually looks like a mini Dangerfield, like socks pulled up, struts around like that. Yeah. Bullocking, can run and jump. He's so good to watch, and he'll easily kick 5 goals, I think, at some stage this year, and make someone look silly. He'll get forward status because he played a fair bit up there. They did throw him. They did throw him in the centre bounces at times too. I don't know if 61's his go, but I reckon he can be around a 70-ish average this year. He'll win some games for North Melbourne, but he's not that real accumulator like a Nick Dacos.
There's going to be a year in year 2 or 3 where he's going to have that forward status still and going to explode.
Yeah, that's what you want. Top 6 the transition year, we call it.
Yeah.
Onto the Hawks. Dylan Moore had 111. Man, I genuinely love Dylan Moore, but it breaks my heart. I traded him out for some Josh Dacos action in our home league, Hef, and it just annoys me because he never seems to play a bad game.
Don't worry, mate. He's playing North Melbourne. So.
Yeah, I know, which is obviously a peak. 19 touches, 10 marks is the big one, 6 tackles. Look, it's not a new ceiling. His floor is just fantastic, and that's what I love about Dylan Moore. Yes, the Kangaroos are pus. He just works so hard. So,
mate, I'm on board for a rare small forward that I like.
Yeah,
I'm on board.
He's a 70 to 80 average forward easily because he just tries so hard each time. So I love him so much, and I love watching him play. Yeah. Jack Gunston had 99 points. Now, I was very bullish on him in the team preview podcast. I said if he's fit, he could be the draft sleeper of the year. 3 goals, 4. That's 7 times he's hit the scoreboard.
Wow.
Hef.
That's a lot of times.
He looked back to his best, and yes, it was against the Roos, but he passed the eye test, looked fit, looked mobile, 18 touches, and honestly, if he could have kicked straight, he could have had 120 plus quite simply. So Jack Gunston's in for a good year. He just looks ready to go again, and it's good. James Sicily, 96 points. I think it's back to normal programming there. 2G for P.
Yes, let's do it. He was 2G. Like, shouldn't have ever come back. It's just that he was out,
just injured
for a year.
Yeah. So he's definitely back. Mitch Lewis had 94 points. He had a massive first half. I like him as a footballer, but look, with Ben McKay injured early, he was basically standing like Jack Zeeble or Aiden Core, so it was just like men versus no one.
Yep.
Definitely impressive. He's one who could somehow find some relevance a bit later on. He's 23. He'll be hitting his prime soon, but you need the Hawks to kind of improve a bit. And just touching on some other guys, Harry Morrison had 89 points. He was playing across half back, listed as a forward. They are things that we love to hear. Look, bit of a roll of old for Harry. Will it continue though? Not too sure. We did see him on the wing in the preseason, and they've got Day Impey to come back into that best 22 side. But good start from a guy with forward status. Tommy Phillips at 86 points, and was shocked to see that he was the sub in this game.
I think I did call he might be on the outer.
I'm not sure what's happening there. I don't think it will happen again because
it could have been played well when he came in.
Yeah, it could have been the wake-up call he needed. 17 touches and 5 tackles, which is very good for him. We know he was a 90 average score at the Pies, and if he gets a regular game at the Hawks, there's no reason he can't be that. So I'd take the punt on him now if he was like available in a waiver, or someone gave you if you threw out a real sneaky trade. I think he can be that player. I know it was the Roos, yes, but if he's best 22, I think he can score. And lastly, Jai Newcomb had 79 points. Just love the way that he goes about it, has a genuine crack. I think he's one of Sam Mitchell's favourites. 10 CBAs, and put some of his more experienced teammates to shame. And I'm looking at James Warple in particular.
I think the big thing for me with Newcomb, because we know he can tackle, and probably disposals aren't quite there in terms of volume yet, but that'll come, especially with pretty low usage. But he took some clunks in this game when he went forward, and just around the ground. I think he took there was a number of marks that he took, and I was like, oh, this guy can actually take a mark. Like, that was one thing where I was wondering, because I knew he could tackle, but can he get a clunk? He took a big contested clunk up forward, and I'm like, yeah, he looks the goods, like, for real.
Just on, you mentioned James Warple, so let's talk about a B2P candidate. Not necessarily B2P just
back
yet.
to the podcast for the new ones.
Yes, so was he playing forward, I heard? Playing up forward?
He had some CBAs and stuff. He just was rat crap, really.
Yeah, I just heard on somewhere that he was just playing up forward for a lot of this game. So I'm just interested I'm hoping if that's true, he gets DPP and then goes back into the midfield. But that's pretty wishful thinking.
34-point scorer up forward.
How did, saying if he goes back into the midfield after that. How did Connor Nash look as well? And what was his role?
Like Nash and McGuinness and that kind of played a bit of everywhere.
Okay.
There's a lot of guys on the periphery, even like your Ward and your McDonald.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think there's a lot of similar kind of level players who are just going to fill spots this year to kind of see where they're at. So Nash was good at times. McGuinness kicked the goal late. They were good. They were solid enough. But once again, it's the Roos and I think there's a few other people who are putting their hand up before those guys.
All right, let's move on to Crows versus Fremantle and Josh Rachele.
C2G for P?
Goodness. 5 goals on debut. I don't think we can expect this every week, guys. But
I was happy to be versing him in my keeper league.
I had him. I drafted him my first round pick this year. In a couple leagues, actually, in the Podcasters League too. And I was very, very happy with it. He's not going to do this every week. And he's going to have some very lean games as well, just given his role as like a small forward. But he is electric. He's got footy smarts. And there's Crows talk about him. He's like a coach's dream, essentially, and he will move into the midfield one day as well. Like
what pick did he go?
Well. He was high
8 or something like that.
It was Crow's first pick, wasn't it? So
it's like seems like a steal at 8. I don't know. He looks like a game winner. He should have won them this game. I think he was actually on the bench at the end of the game, which was like, do the Crows want to win?
Yeah,
maybe they're trying to get that pick early.
Maybe he's gassed, I don't know, but he's going to be a future premium forward in fantasy. I think
6. Sorry.
Yeah. Close. Lockie Scholl had 89 points in 3 quarters, so he was on the wing. So just monitor this because I don't think they really played Jordan Dawson on the wing that much. They put him behind the footy, and in the first half they had Dawson kind of starting every now and then on a half forward flank, which was super. Well, I guess he's done it before, but it just wasn't where we've seen Dawson play his best footy.
Coming back from a calf.
Maybe that's it, yeah. So Lockie Scholl came in for the Moose, who did a hamstring early in the second quarter.
And was he not leading all scorers
he was
the big Moose, Andrew McPherson.
We might have gone a year early there, Dossie, but now he's done the hammy, so it doesn't really matter as much as well. It might take a while for him to get back. But yeah, Lockie Scholl came into the game, and he was really good on the wing. So it was kind of like the Lockie Scholl we kind of expected 2 years ago for him to kind of go into. So just monitor that. The disposal isn't, I think that's what disposal is what keeps him out of the side, and it wasn't that much better. Like, it was a little bit better than what we've seen before, but just monitor this one because he's pretty fantasy friendly if he plays. Jimmy Rowe had 87 points. It's a good game, but I'm just not interested in him with his role, so just kind of don't get fooled by that one. Now, Harry Schomburg had 74 points, but guys, he just doesn't score as well as the hype he gets. So he had 78% time on ground, but I think the biggest for the Crows was like 82 or 83 or something like that. So he's basically up there. The disposal efficiency is what worries me the most with him. So you can't...
He's usually a very good disposer of the football.
He's around the 60% mark usually, isn't he?
No, it's more than
times I've watched. I don't know about that. I'll go back and have a look at last year's stats. But and in the preseason, the same. He was just butchering every kick in the preseason game as well. It was just like, you can't have that many bad kicks in a midfield and expect to win football games if you're the Crows. Because if you look at Crouch, he's not the greatest disposal. Ben Keys was absolutely butchering it as well, but got so many fantasy points. Like, I just don't know how this midfield is meant to function with all these guys in there. That's all.
Well, they got no one else to play in there.
I know, but it's more so long term. Like, as soon as they start, there's some of the good young kids coming through. That's what worries me for Schomburg, and like all those mids actually. Really,
not worried. All the good fantasy players like Took Miller have off first rounds and then they come home hot.
Okay, all right. We'll have to wait and see. He's definitely getting the opportunity, so it wouldn't surprise me if he does start scoring well. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's hard to tell.
1 game sample, boys.
Yeah,
we do have to remember that.
Yeah, and 2 preseason games where he didn't show anything either. But anyway, Wayne Miller. You should go big when no one else is trying. Anyway, Wayne Miller, 50 points. I reckon just give him some time, real low time on ground there as well. And is that forward too for a bit? Started in the back line.
Stato, good friend of the show, the Statesman, bit concerned about old Miller.
Yeah,
he was, especially for his classic formats. But he doesn't reckon he's just wondering, where do you play him, because he's. I think they did have to move him around because he's a bit too slow to defend at the moment down back, and that's when they made the shift. It's like he can't really lock anyone down.
He'll play forward. I've said this for
good
ages.
Disposal, good decision maker, but
Crows have had to play him forward for the exact same reason before. So, Yeah, I think most of the time it's injury concern, but I'm just worried about it's more not worried. I'm just more so thinking that it might be just him kind of easing back into the game. I'm willing to give him a bit more time.
Owners just are going to probably have to be very patient in your keepers. He might take some time. I mean, personally, I was probably on the side of what you're saying. I'm a bit more keen than the Statesman, but he's got a good fantasy mind.
And the last name I had, was the Moose, Andrew McPherson, but we already touched on that. But he was on, he was on fire. But anyway, did the hamstring, not to be. Hayden Young had 81 points for Fremantle, just halfback. Just breakout season for this kid, so it's coming. Will Brodie had 77 points from low time on ground. I think that was in the 60s as well. He just did well enough listed as a forward. He holds for a bit, even with Fife out, I think. I don't think it's...
Longmuir basically came out. I've got to get this. I've got to get the quote. But
give me the gist.
He basically said him and Clark played really well, did their roles, and they're going to be in the team for a while.
Good. That's all we want.
A roughly quote.
Yep. Sam Switkowski was also quite good, 73 points, mainly up forward. I thought he might get a few more CBAs, but I don't think he got any, did he?
I don't know.
Yeah, but so anyway.
He's a new addition to my side, so I'm happy that he got me a 72. You
take that up forward for sure. The Tuck, Darcy Tucker, honour the Tuck. He had 72 points. Started on the half-back, then went on to a wing for quite a bit of the game. He scored okay as well. And then Geordie Clark played that half-back role that we thought he'd play. Looked good, but there's just a monopoly... there's a lot of mouths to feed, and Luke Ryan has the monopoly on the kick-in still. So you were the one who was talking about the kick-in upside. Luke Ryan was still taking majority of those. So, yeah, that's the only other thing I noticed. I'm just not sure... I think Geordie Clark will build on this score. It's not like this is...
What about the match winner, mate? What about him?
The golden fist.
The fist.
Yeah.
Heath Chapman.
Give him 50 points for that one, I reckon.
What did he score? It was like 50.
It was 51. Yeah, 51.
I've left him off because, I don't know, it just didn't do enough for me.
He's going to pop one game this year. We'll get to talk about it.
All right, cool. Let's move on to the final game of the round, West Coast versus Gold Coast. Your two favourite teams, Dossie.
The two coasters. I think the draft doctors have been saying the superior coast now, the Gold Coast, which, facts, to be honest.
Yeah.
So the Eagles obviously missing all their studs, basically everyone. So just take these scores, as we've said, obviously one game sample, but in particular this game, take it with a huge grain of salt because things are going to be different going forward. But for the Eagles, let's talk about some players that we might be interested in. Sam Petrevski-Seton is the one that I'm going to talk about first. I know there's a couple of other guys that might interest you more, but for me, when things actually settled back to where they were and with a few extra players in, Petrevski-Seton was playing midfield, and I did kind of mention this a couple of weeks ago. Sherlock Dossie did some investigations and was looking at where he could fit in, and playing that mid-forward role is where I kind of see Sam Petrevski-Seton playing. 73% TOG, 7 CBAs, but the thing for me, he just looked a class above and didn't get the score, but I see that coming in future weeks. So just keep an eye on his scoring.
I'm just going to say a blanket statement for every one of the players you talk about tonight. A lot of players coming back to that West Coast side.
Have mentioned that, Hef?
Yeah, no, I'm just saying. That's my comment on everyone.
What I said, the reason I mentioned him first, I think he's got the most chance of actually being there when the rest are back.
I'm just saying that I'm not going to bother speaking because I'm just going to say that.
Okay. That's your comment for everything.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'll mention about the other guys that got some midfield clock first. Actually, let's just talk about him. Luke Foley turned up.
I'm going to find it hard not to talk about this guy.
Luke Foley not talking. Shush.
Luke Foley turned up. The role that I saw him playing was kind of an interesting role, and probably what I'm thinking is most closely to what Duggan kind of does. So the ball was going up, and the moment the ball went up in the centre bounce, he'd sprint in there.
Yeah, race in.
He'd race in. He'd be involved in a stoppage and just looked really good. And Witherden coming back this week's probably the big thing where I'm like, is this going to happen? Because he's not going to get that cheap ball as easily in defence, and I just want to see what happens. I'm not sold. He looked good.
The thing with footy all weekend, we saw players just dashing to get the ball moving ball forward. And there wasn't a lot of chip around in defence, whereas West Coast there was still quite a bit of that happening, a bit more, not heaps, but more than other teams. So that's what fills me with a bit more confidence for someone like Foley. Yes, you're right with players coming back in, but I don't think he goes 100 every week, that's for sure. But I think we'll see a breakout of sorts, I think, this year. Maybe not be an 80-plus average, but, I think we'll see him kind of just cement a spot on the side, I think.
Be interested, because for me, showed way more signs than I've seen before from him, so was very impressed. Another guy I was super impressed with, which I kind of flagged the other week on the pod, saying...
You did call this.
He got the centre bounces. He was pretty high up in the centre bounces in the preseason games. I was like, more of a flash in the pan type thing. But Jermaine Jones was electric.
You've got a little goat emoji next to his name here.
Yeah, Jermaine the Goat Jones.
It's a bit too early to pull the goat out.
I think I might have had a couple of bevies when I put that one in there. But he actually just looked really bloody good. Low disposal count, 21 touches. So, look, he's going to have to kick a couple of snags, get a bunch of tackles like he did in this game for him to actually get a nice score. But the fact he's in and amongst it, and the fact that he was in there when actually Tim Kelly was playing in the trials the week before, that probably says to you that he is going to be involved in the centre bounce mix this year. So, yeah, tempting, I suppose, as a guy that actually popped a nice score. Let's look at the other players pretty quickly because, like we said, so much to change. Patrick Naish coming in off the AFL's waiver wire. He scored 60 starting on a wing. But I don't know. I just keep an eye on him because he's got forward status, and if he's got that wing role, I've quite liked him in the past and just like the way he goes about it. So once he learns the team structures, could he get some more scores? Let's keep an eye on it. Willie Rioli scored really well. If you look at his time on ground, he actually had a pretty solid score for his TOG. So as he builds into the season, maybe he can score some good scores. More of a streamer, more of your kind of loophole guy. But yeah, just keep an eye out because he actually played some centre bounce usage as well. Jackson Nelson's the last one, just a 70s guy, but he's all right. Plays a wing. He goes all right.
Not bad.
We're getting late in the pod, it's got to get through these now.
As the draft doctor would say, he's a jag.
Suns, I won't even talk about the big one there because he's... did he come back to the pod?
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's...
Well, Matt Rao, 2G for P. Let's move on.
100%.
Just a gun.
Let's do it.
Fluffy beard, though. Don't know about that. Did you notice that? Oh, that's like...
It was a bit fluffy, yeah.
I can't even grow that sort of beard, so good on you. Isaac Rankin was the next player that we can talk about. The big thing for me, so he turned up 4 snags, which, against West Coast, big deal. Small forward just kicking a few snags. 23 disposals is the big thing that stood out for me. Actually managed to build a little score build from his disposals, which has been an issue.
Been hoping for this for years. Hoping to see some of this.
Yeah. Let's wait and see. I'm just optimistic, but I wouldn't go, he's versing West Coast with no one. So
such a gun player, though.
He'll get locked down very regularly.
Yeah,
he didn't turn up in his debut and then basically didn't hit 50 for the rest of the year or something like that.
Snags, freaky snags. Yeah. Quite a few of them on debut, I think.
So anyway, obviously a superstar talent if he can get it right and consistent. Consistency is the big one. Let's see him do it. I'm keen to see. Alex Davies was one that just piqued my interest because I've been wary about him from taking my boys CBAs, Fiorini, but 59 points from 70% TOG. Love him as a stash. This guy looks like he's class. I don't know if you guys saw this game, but
bits and pieces.
He played quite a bit of forward, not that much.
Well, he was doing that in pre-season. So,
that much midfield usage. He actually looks a class act. I'm kind of on board, and I'm really interested to see where his career goes.
Well, he debuted the last round of last year.
And got a stack of CBAs because they were giving him a crack.
But it was like, a lot of people probably would have missed that because who's watching a Gold Coast dead rubber in the last round?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but yeah, and then you would have seen like CBA counts, but I don't think he's going to be moving into the midfield this year with everyone fit and firing. But he's still going to hold his own.
Yeah, he'll get a couple of...
Yeah, but like not like he did last year, you know what I mean?
And this year's just going to be a year where, like I said, pure stash or just take a little next year. But lots of good signs. Jeremy Sharp was down in this game.
Nothing to worry about.
44 points, yeah.
He was injured in the...
Is there a trend with wingers just not scoring well this round? Except for Dan Houston, maybe, who played on the wing for most of the game.
Sharp missed the last JLT game, whatever it is. So
the hamstring. That's right. I was trying to think, did it seem like wingers were down? The good wingers. Carl Amon still went okay.
Well, the thing that I think Sharp, I didn't see exactly positionally. I know he did play a bit of wing early, but I noticed Fiorini actually coming out onto a wing
and he
late
still scored
in the game, and obviously Ellis is on the other one. So I'm thinking maybe Sharp actually didn't get... I think he might have got pushed off the wing a bit. It's not the pure wing role that we thought it might be. I think there's going to be some sharing going on. So
that's happening in quite a few teams. They actually rotate wings.
So just keep an eye on it. I'm still big on Sharp. Just keep an eye on that. I was hoping for a big score. David Swallow playing defence.
Vomit.
Yeah, 43 points. But...
No, he's too slow.
I don't no interest, but just keep an eye because he'll get defender status. And Ben Ainsworth, I'll just throw his name out there because I'm not willing to say I was wrong on this one yet because I've just not been a fan of him scoring wise. But 88 points, versus West Coast, yes, but just like he's shown signs this preseason of actually doing it consistently. So
both games are very open and easy, though, I'm guessing. So
let's wait. Let's still wait, but good signs from your boy.
I still made sure I got my hands on him in the home league draft before Kays did, so just so he's in my team. So that's fine. Hopefully he does pop this year, and you let him go a year too early.
Showed a bit more than kind of what I've seen from him in the past. Yeah, so
he does this.
All right, that's the end of the round rewind. If you enjoyed the thorough depth of analysis we've done in that segment, make sure you jump on and support the podcast by becoming a member. In return, we'll give you weekly CBAs, weekly kick-in numbers, scores for and against, projections, breakout tracker, and much, much more. You'll also get the marquee signing to the Keeper League brand, which is the Pod, which is going bananas behind the paywall. Yes, it is, but totally worth it if you're into your AFL Fantasy Classic.
Absolutely.
There's a two-time hat winners on there. Last year's runner-up Cole Holmes and the Statesman as well. So
yeah, and actually we had we had a special guest today. Actually, 2022 AFL Fantasy Classic winner Dosby Lestier.
Okay, yeah,
he was on the podcast as well.
Selby Lee Steer is the two-time winner of AFL Classic. Because I don't know if our listeners
actually not on the podcast.
I don't know how many of our listeners actually care about Classic and know who that
cousin,
is.
Dosby Lestier.
Yes, but anyway, so you can get access to that. Unfortunately, you have to listen to that joke and that sort of stuff. But you do get some great insight from two very, very good AFL Fantasy Classic players, and Louis as well, who's always a top 1,000 finisher as well. So, he's quite good too. And then you got Dos as well, just doing funny things like that.
Kays is going to jump on soon by the sounds of things based on his ranking.
But anyway, so links in the description. If you want to sign up as a member, just scroll down there, click that and sign up and you'll get access to all that goodness. All right, podcast reviews. We've got 90 more ratings until I have to play a game of football somewhere.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Is that all we need?
Yeah, so 90 more
stuff, mate.
90 more ratings. Well, it's only moved up like 20 since last week.
So
anyway,
in a month's time, we'll be playing footy.
Maybe, yeah. This review comes from JG third grade fan, and he's right. This is a good pod. I've been listening to these guys. Sorry, I've only just started listening to these guys. Good pod with great info on lesser considered fantasy players. First time I've ever written a review. Just here to help out the Kenilworth C grade team.
There we go.
Am I getting heft to play again by the sounds? So, anyways.
Don't know if you'll be let back though, mate, after your performance at training. So,
a
few words came out after that.
Is the actual performance or the fact that I was it was quite evident that I wasn't keen to play at all?
Pretty clear.
Attitude issues.
Definitely.
I'm not surprised somehow. Kays, you want to read out the gold members this week?
Absolute pleasure. Glenn McAuliffe, Nathan Quarrell, Michael Pace, Paul Monkus, Mark Miles, Wayne Mickleston, Ray Barton, Joe, the Love Pig Cagney, Sean Michael, and Todd Rollings.
Thank you to those loyal supporters there. A lot of familiar names in that list that support us year in, year out. So thank you to all those members there. All right, let's move on to the listener questions. All right, moving on to the listener questions. First one this week comes from @Trav014. Are the Hawks versus North Melbourne and Suns versus West Coast scores worth taking note of, or is it just bottom teams playing each other? He also wants to know is Phillips basically best 22 as well. So you watched this game, those games.
I think we've kind of touched on it, but yes, I would be very wary of both scores in both of those games. Sorry, but yeah, I'm quite keen on Phillips. I think he took the opportunity that was presented to him, and I think you'll find he's in that best 22 going forward.
All right. What do you think, Dossie, about the Suns versus West Coast scores? Do you take much out of it, or I think that was more of a rabble, wasn't it? That one.
Look at Jermaine Jones 97. Luke Foley 100.
Wary.
Just wait.
All right, this one comes from Russ2468. Which players had the biggest positive and negative role changes of the round? I wrote down a couple just off the top of my head before we started. I think Dan Houston moving onto a wing semi-permanently was quite good for his game. He scored 150. Luke McDonald going back to defence was good after being on the wing last season. The negatives I saw was, Warple, well, I didn't see this one, but I just heard about it. I'm not sure if it's actually true, but Warple going forward is what I've heard. And Dawson went defence the second half, but he was, kind of forward the first half as well, which is a bit gross too. So that was negative, but I'm not worried about Dawson at all because I think he would just be playing a normal role as how well he played in the second half. Pendlebury's another one that goes back.
Gus Brayshaw was my huge one. He's irrelevant as a wingman, but he could be, one of the better defenders
was
down there.
Was Luke
McDonald.
Parker? Was Luke Parker? We said McDonald. Was Luke Parker forward? He kicked 5, didn't he?
Yeah,
Yeah,
but I think
but
he
was that
played
from
a
the
lot of
midfield?
Everett, they
yeah.
just like rotate
Yeah,
around.
okay.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
Warple had 11 CBAs, man. So
Who did so?
Warple.
Yeah, no, but like that was, I looked at it, it was 45%, which is like, I reckon, I don't know, I'm just saying.
He's not getting. Yeah, it's bad. But I don't
Yeah.
know. It's odd.
Yeah.
It's really odd.
Maybe he just had a bad game. I
And
don't know.
Gresham just confirmed that he's actually playing midfield and he's got that forward status. He could end up being
Top 5.
easy. He could be
Yeah.
if that role's permanent, and it's something that I'm looking for in the next week and the week after, whether the mid time's real, because we saw it in a half of football. Can he do it for a full game coming back off a serious injury?
Yeah. Yeah, anyway, we'll move on. At Kang Daddy, let's be honest, chaps. Round 1 is all about the waivers. In a win now team, please rank the following waivers available in my Supercoach Keeper League. I have priority 1. So Hayes, Nick Martin, Scholl and Myercheck. Who would you rate? So I don't play Supercoach at all, so I'm not.
You
good
wouldn't
at
be
this.
getting Scholl in Supercoach.
Because it pushes the ball, doesn't
outside.
he? See, am I correct in thinking that Myercheck might be a go in Supercoach? Because he seems to just kick a few goals here and there.
I wouldn't be touching him.
No. So then you go Hayes, Martin, Myercheck and Scholl.
Probably go Hayes, because I know Ruckman are like cheese in Supercoach.
Okay.
Like they're just hell cheesy. So
Yeah.
I'd be going the Ruckman first.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. All right. At by Alex Fry. True or
The
false?
forward ruck. Apologies.
Yeah, that's all right. True or false? Is the LDU breakout real? I think we're all in agreement that that's real, isn't it?
Yes.
There you go,
Yes.
by Alex Fry. At Skull Down Under. Hey lads, just recently discovered your pod, loving it so far. I'm in the first year of a keeper league with my mates. We are running with a 2 ruck system. Oh,
Ouch.
that's gross. What are our thoughts on Hayes? I didn't get to watch much of the game. Worth a pickup or a hold for now? Yeah, it's definitely worth a pickup, especially in a 2 ruck league.
He
You
was
need
so
him.
impressive
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
first
yeah.
game. Like, I know
Absolutely.
he's played, he's a mature ager.
Yeah, yeah.
But he scored monstrous in the Sanford and stuff
Nuts.
anyway. So.
Yeah. At Isaac_WF, what do I play? Who do I play at D3? Jarth, Tucker, or McInerney?
CJ.
Yeah, Jarth from after the
He
last
looked
week's
he
performance.
looked awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
McInerney, we didn't talk about this, but did he get injured or not? I mean, I saw him go down.
He played out on the wing,
like-
and it was
yeah.
just a weird game. It was not.
But then he got
that kind
injured
of
late
game.
though, didn't he?
Yeah.
So he's probably
There
worth
was
just
talk
like
that he
not
came
playing.
off late in the game.
Yeah. So is he? Yeah, just let's monitor that and see if he's actually going to play this week. So, I saw him like 'cause I only watched the end of it, and it looked bad like when he was coming off. So yeah, but no one's talking about it, so I'm just not really sure what the go is.
No respect.
Matthew Wright, where is Jack Bytel, Dossie?
We'll need to do some investigations
Okay.
on where Jack Bytel has gone, because Sherlock Dossie's he's lost. The case is open at the moment.
Could we see
Is this a missing persons case?
This
or?
is, yes.
Yes.
We saw him dominate at the end of last year, but where is he? Where is Jack Bytel? He's not on the injury list as far as I can tell, but the mystery is open.
Well, there's might be a very good clue this weekend because there's some VFL games happening. So
I
we'll have to
bought
wait and see.
I bought a little 1 litre milk today, and there was a picture of Ryan Burns on there
Not Bytel though.
missing.
Well, the danger signs when I was like, where is Bytel?
Yeah.
Like, they played a rookie ahead of him and gave him mid-time, and they're like,
better
yeah.
kick.
And I was
look up to
like,
it, unfortunately.
Jack Bytel?
Yeah, no, he must have done something to someone. Dave Simpson, trade or keep Rosie. Now he got injured as well. Like he came off early, had a jab
When's
apparently.
he not?
and then-
When's he not
yeah,
like
that's
doing
true.
something?
I'm still keeping him. Like he's an immense talent.
Yeah,
Keeper.
Yeah, definitely keep him. Persist. Robert Hatcher, do we see Weller improving or is he going to continue going backwards? The coach is worth moving on due to his role, ? I am flag chasing. So let's start with Weller. I see him scoring better, like slightly better than he did on the weekend at some stages this year, but I don't know if it's going to be too much different to what he scored. I think given his forward status, it's just handy. Do you guys
What did
think?
he score, sorry?
66, I think it was.
Yeah, I think because he has the kick-in role, which
Yeah, he does.
I think he had a stack of kick-ins in this game.
I'll give you the exact numbers in a sec. But
yeah, I'd be
He's such a plain
confident that he'll
Jane
score a lot
dude.
better than
he
that.
is very plain. But
He'll score better than that though.
Yeah, I'll give you his kicking numbers here. Just give me 2 seconds to get them up. So he
Lukosius,
had
though.
5 for the game. So he had 62% of the team kick-ins for the game, so with 5 kick-ins.
You take 15 points off that score, it's a vomit.
What's that, sorry?
If you take 15 points off that score.
Oh, yeah, of course.
It is.
But he'll keep those kick-ins,
He'll be
though. That's
better
the
than
thing.
that. You want a player playing that role as a forward status. Like, it's pretty juicy.
Yeah. And Lukosius, is he worth moving on due to his forward role?
No.
Yeah,
I
didn't love it.
He says
but-
he's flag chasing, which I understand like why you'd want to do that, but I'd definitely wait because like Lukosius has still got the chance to be a really good forward, and who knows what's going to happen to their team? Like, what if they just swing him back halfway through the season, and then you've missed out on having an awesome defender?
Is there a chance? Yeah, true. There's no chance of getting forward status because he's already BC.
No, he's got BC.
Yeah,
so like, you're not going to get that, but
yeah.
roles can change, and also he could be an amazing forward that you end up wanting to keep and rebuilding in your kind of after flag.
I can't see him scoring well as a forward, but I can see that happening, moving back at some stage because he's just so good.
He's played everywhere.
Well.
Don't trust the coach just saying, "Oh, he's going to play here." It's like we saw Dawson, midfield, and he's played forward and defence in his first game.
Exactly. Yeah. Anyways, Paul Milne asks, can we expect a 90 plus from Rowbottom for the rest of the season based on this week's role?
I believe so.
I think by now you should be expecting it. Whether you'll get it or not is another story. But you should be expecting to get it.
The game that he played on the weekend is easily replicable.
Yeah,
you can't expect it, no, because Chad Warner's still coming back in. We just mentioned what are they going to do with Josh Kennedy? Do they want to move him in?
I think.
Anyway, I wouldn't expect it, put it that way. They've got a lot of mouths to feed and a lot of guys they can roll through there.
I'll be expecting it, but I'm just saying.
What do you think? Where's Chad Warner? Is Chad Warner coming back in that side?
He's just teased.
No, Stevens out.
My point is,
okay.
like he's in his like 5th year, isn't it? 5th or 6th year. He should be doing this by now, but I just don't know if he will.
So you'll be disappointed again.
Exactly. Yeah. Let's wrap it up. This has been a long podcast, just gone over 90 minutes, I think. But thank you for listening. Give us a follow on our socials: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, all Keeper League Pod on all those channels. Make sure you get around Manscaped. Support us by supporting our sponsors by using the code KEEPER20 at manscaped.com. Get yourself 20% off and free shipping. Make sure you sign up as a member and support the show. So head to the links below, in the description below. Sign up as a member, get access to all the bonus resources and the infamous pod. And yeah, you'll be set for the whole fantasy season. Anything else from you boys? No. Make sure you listen to the Lipinski song as well.
Yes.
I'm going to play that on the outro. So, yeah.
Oh, will we?
Yep. No worries. All right, cool. See you later.
Peace out.
See ya.